Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today for another exciting WordStream webinar. Honey, I shrunk my wasted spend. My name is Chris and I'll be moderating today's presentation. Today's webinar is brought to you by PPC University. What that is it's WordStream's library of free white papers, webinars, and free tools. So if you want to check that out after the webinar, you can just go to wordstream.com/learn. If you'd like to take part in live blogging during today's webinar, you can include the hashtag WordStream. To meet today's presenter, we have Jeff Stevens. Jeff is a customer success specialist here at WordStream. He manages software and consulting clients at WordStream, approximately 100 plus unique clients. He has past experience in agency consulting for inbound marketing, and he's fully dedicated to paid search after 8+ months with WordStream. So Jeff, welcome today. Thanks for joining us. A little bit about WordStream. So WordStream is a search marketing software company founded in 2007, located here in Boston, Massachusetts. We're number 184, the fastest growing private company in the U.S. We're winner of Best Customer Engagement Driver Award from MITx in 2012, and we're the leading provider of PPC Advisor, which is our PPC management platform, the free AdWords performance and landing page grader, and we also have expert PPC management services. For today's agenda, we'll go over the shocking truth about most AdWords account. We'll tell you 3 actionable expert tips to start eliminating wasted spend in your Google AdWords account, and we'll share real examples that you can walk away from today's webinar and start testing in your account today. We'll also show you how you only need 20 minutes per week to make an impact in your AdWords ROI. Tricks and tips, perfect for even the busiest business owner. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to have a Q&A session, so send along your questions throughout the presentation, and we'll try to answer those for you. So with that, let's hand things over to Jeff and get started with the webinar.
All right, everybody, and thanks again for joining on. Very happy to have you all aboard here. And what we're going to start out with are a couple of poll questions. So again, today's webinar is heavily focused on eliminating wasted spend within AdWords. So I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions about your own struggles with AdWords, and in particular, things related to spend. So let's just start it off. First question here is, what is your biggest struggle with AdWords management? 5 choices we have here are bid management, reporting and analysis, writing ad copy, doing keyword research, and landing page optimization. So Chris, just drum up that poll, and let's see what the results look like.
Awesome, Jeff, and I have the poll running right now. And I'm talking to a lot of clients here at WordStream. What seems to be the biggest struggle in their AdWords management?
When we're talking about advertisers in particular, I think a lot of them struggle with keyword research. Some of them may not even know that that's the case. A lot of times I'll see accounts where keywords just aren't making sense. It doesn't seem like they did a very thorough job on that aspect of things. Also, bid management. It can be pretty confusing in some instances, especially if you're doing fully manual bid management.
Great, and it looks like a majority of the audience has actually voted here. So let me share the results and read these off to you guys. So 32% bid management is the biggest struggle in AdWords management, 15% reporting and analysis, 10% writing ad copy, 27% doing keyword research, and 17% landing page optimization.
Yeah, I would think that those that are looking at reporting analysis are probably maybe agencies out there. I think that's a really big aspect for you, is just ensuring that you have either some automated format or some just consistent workflow where you can do consistent reporting to your clients on a regular basis.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for voting on that one. So let's just launch our second poll question here.
All right, and our second poll question is a little bit more oriented towards your understanding of how your money is being spent. So the basic question here is, do you fully understand how your money is being spent in Google AdWords? Answer A is yes, I have it down to a science. B is no, I have no idea how Google actually spends my money. C is I'm unsure but confident that I can learn more and actually get there to that understanding. And D, of course, is I'm unsure and I'm terrified about how Google is spending my money. And we can be honest here. Don't be afraid. It's an anonymous survey.
Okay, Jeff, it looks like a majority of the audience has voted here, so I'm actually going to share the results here. So it looks like 13%, yes, I have it down to a science. 18%, no, I have no idea how Google spends my money. 60%, I'm unsure but confident I can get there. And 9%, I'm unsure and I'm scared.
All right. We got a good mix here, which is great. So those of you that have it down to a science, I believe you. But let's look to see if we have some extra actionable tips here that will help you out. For those of you that are confident that you can get to this level of spend, I think a lot of understanding of your spend, I think a lot of the material today is really going to help you out with that. For those of you that are unsure and you're feeling a little bit terrified about how things are working in AdWords, I'm going to give you some very good advice about how you should think about starting your AdWords account and really relating things to spend and tracking your ROI within the account so that you know that you're using AdWords properly. All right, and Chris, thanks so much for running the poll for us there. So let's just jump right into the thick of things. The first topic is the shocking truth about most AdWords accounts. So let's just start this with a question. What percentage on average does a small business waste each month on their AdWords spend? We have some internal data here telling us that about 25%. So the average small business wastes 25% or more each month on their AdWords spend. That means a quarter of their budget is going to wasted dollars, wasted clicks, clicks that just aren't going to be converting and generating any sort of profit for the business. Now we can extrapolate this 25% figure to a number of different factors, whether it's business leads, sales, inquiries, anything that you would like to describe there. This can translate into a lot of different areas, whether you're a B2B supplier and you're talking about 157 leads in that arena. Certain number of gym memberships, it depends on the scale of your entire campaign, but think about this 25% figure and possibly think about how much you're spending each day in AdWords, and that should be a little bit alarming to you that maybe there's some new opportunity that you can pursue based on that wasted money. So how often do small businesses that are usually spending about under $5K a month do actual work in their AdWords account? So here's a little bit of a shocking statistic. About 50% of those advertisers that spend $5K per month or under actually don't check their AdWords account once per month. And even 25% haven't done anything in the last 90 days. How are you expected to really track your spend and understand how your money is being spent if you're not even looking at your account? This is a critical thing that needs to be fixed. If you're nodding to yourself and saying, wow, I have not been spending much time in my account and I'm here now to learn about some of those spending trends, you're certainly in the right spot. Part of this webinar is obviously going to go into these tips about, eliminating wasted spend in the account overall. We're also going to talk to you about some of the WordStream software tools that can help you in this area. And I'll be very honest with you, the tools that we implement and work with you here at WordStream encourage you to get into that account a lot more often. So we'll kind of trace this back a little bit towards the end of this, the presentation. So simply enough, just doing more work in your PPC account is probably the best way to start improving results. This is a very, very high-level concept, but if you're not in your account doing work, obviously nothing is being changed, you're not reacting, and you're not being preemptive in certain cases as well. So really, if you're not doing that much work in your account, that's something that does need to be changed, especially if you're one of those people that's concerned about how your spend is going out, and certainly if you don't have any concept of how it's working, then you really need to get in there and start buffering your education a little bit. So a huge factor in eliminating wasted spend is obviously the use of negative keywords. So we did a little bit of research here as well, and we were asking ourselves, what percentage of AdWords account have at least one negative keyword added within the last 90 days? So about greater than 25%, but a little bit less than 50% of AdWords accounts have used at least one negative keyword in the last 90 days. However, 20% of these accounts have never used a negative keyword ever. This is very concerning. If you're in this webinar right now and you're wondering what a negative keyword is, I'm obviously going to introduce that concept for you here, but that's a particular task that you need to be thinking about in your account to help you start eliminating wasted spend right away. Now, one of the core terms and kind of one of the core themes here that we like to introduce, on any of these types of webinars is really just giving you some tips on how to improve your account overall, just very, very high level. Really the biggest focus here, based on some of the things we've talked about earlier, is going to be focusing on keyword relevance and keyword expansion. No matter what size your business is, you can apply these concepts and really start to expand your account, but also eliminate that wasted spend by the use of negative keywords. Just keep on thinking about the alignment between your keywords, your text ads, and your landing pages and trying to make that as uniform as possible. We'll approach that a little bit today, and we'll relate it back to wasted spend and how uniformity within the account is extremely important for helping you understand that type of spend. So you may be wondering, how did we actually get this data about these individual accounts and these just kind of collective trends across AdWords right now? We mentioned earlier that WordStream is a provider of the free AdWords Performance Grader. If you're ever interested in running this grader, it's going to give you a nice output as to the relative performance in your account. We're going to give you a general percentage, kind of a baseline AdWords performance percentage here. A lot of it is related to how much work you've actually been doing in the account. A lot of it does come into negative keywords and a couple of the activities that are pretty central to actually eliminating spend. So just keep in mind, if you're ever interested in running this grader, it's just a great way to get a good idea as to how your account's been performing thus far. Now, with this particular AdWords grader, we've actually had the opportunity as a company to grade over $3 billion in AdWords spend. So this is how we're able to really get this data here that tells us, 1 in 4 accounts have 0 negative keywords, or low quality scores are wreaking havoc on campaign performance, or perhaps 50% of accounts have not been optimized in 30 days, and 25% of accounts haven't even been touched in the last 3 months. So these types of data points are always coming into us at WordStream. We'll always talk about them on the blog as well. So we're a great resource to lean into if you're just interested in understanding what the trends are like in AdWords and what our initial take is going to be as well. But keep that grader in mind. It's super handy for just getting a good picture as to how your account's been performing thus far. So as we can see, kind of some of these stats will get us to a general conclusion here that the average AdWords account for small and medium-sized businesses really does not look that great. When it comes down to spend and just understanding that itself, that's what our focus is going to be today. But just know that a lot of these things are really going to show that you may not be doing the full management that you would have expected. Don't let this scare you at all. There's a lot of opportunity to improve. And in terms of AdWords, it's a fairly volatile but also extremely flexible platform. So there's a lot of opportunities to make quick changes and quick wins that will reverse wasted spend very quickly. And the first topic that we're going to talk about is then going to get us right into that activity. So let's get started with those 3 actionable tips that we can use to eliminate wasted spend. So let's lead into the first tip here. We all know that AdWords is expensive, but what we need to start doing as advertisers is learning how to understand risk and reward opportunities in AdWords. If you go into AdWords without any concept of how certain keywords work and how certain match types work and really what the strategy needs to be around those types of terms, then you're going to find yourself spending money in areas that you weren't necessarily planning on spending money. We need to remember that Google does a lot to try and influence new products, give you more decisions to make, and really find new ways for you to spend more money on their network, whether it's for your benefit or for Google's benefit. That's left to be seen, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of pitfalls in this case. So let's start out from the fundamentals in terms of going through your keyword list and understanding the type of risk that may actually be in your account already or that you may want to plan for in the future. So this first tip that we're going to go into is pruning your keyword list. So either you have a pre-existing keyword list that you're looking at, or maybe you're just looking to develop a new keyword list. Some of the things that we can do right away is to just go into AdWords, log in, either AdWords or WordStream, even if you're a customer here, navigate over to your Campaigns tab, and sort your campaigns by overall spend. When you get to your top spending campaign, you should go to that top spending campaign and then select the Keywords tab underneath that particular campaign. And then you should go in and you should sort that entire keyword list by impressions. One of the trends that you may notice in your account is that when you see terms that have higher impressions, they tend to have the highest costs associated with them as well. So in this instance, we're looking at a keyword report here where we can see that our top keyword that got 80K impressions, which is just enormous compared to the rest of the keywords on this list, also obviously has the highest spend associated with it. We're not even seeing any particular conversions on this term. So here's some ways that you can, some kind of key performance indicators that you can use to start pruning through that list and eliminating keywords that are wasting money, and then working towards using keywords and giving more prominence to keywords that are actually performing better for you in the long run. So what are you actually looking for here? Well, right off the bat, you're looking for a certain level of, or threshold of impressions without a certain level of engagement. And what I mean by engagement are metrics like click-through rate and conversions and conversion rate. If you don't see anything there, if that keyword is just simply not performing and it's at the top of your list and it's one of the highest spenders, you should not be afraid to absolutely pause that keyword. Don't delete the keyword, just pause it. Pausing is always the best choice here because you can preserve some of that legacy data. But just know that it is okay to go through your account and pause terms. Even if you would look at that term and say, well, Jeff, this is critical to my account. I needed to keep it in there. It's actually not critical if it's not making you any money. That's one thing that you really need to get past in AdWords. If you have a keyword that's not making you any money or not generating any sort of business value for you, you need to cut that out of your campaign. Just pause it, take a new look at it, approach it with a different perspective. Some other signs that you're looking for are clicks. So maybe you have a huge number of clicks, but you don't have enough conversions to justify the cost. That's more related to your cost per acquisition figure. Very easy to see here in WordStream as well as AdWords. Perhaps you also see that you have keywords with a very low quality score, but they have a pretty high volume of clicks. Maybe that CPA isn't where you want it to be either. Remember that lower quality scores actually wind up costing you a premium in terms of your cost per click. So those are the types of terms you want to look out for as well. And then, of course, there can always be a combination of these factors. So use these key performance indicators to determine whether or not you need to go through and start pruning through this keyword list. You may notice that in this example, we're seeing a lot of broad match keywords here. These are the types of keywords that we need to look out for more specifically, and that will help me transition into this next topic, which is understanding keyword risk and also understanding keyword hierarchies within your account structure. What we need to understand is that each match type in AdWords represents a different level of risk in terms of the audience that you're courting with that particular keyword and the type of traffic that you could expect from using a keyword like that in your account. Broad match keywords tend to carry the highest risk and the highest cost. The broad match modifier is a medium to high risk term, but it really does depend on the keyword length. Remember that modified broad allows you to put a plus sign in each term that you want to require to be within the search query, but they don't need to be in that exact order. So you can imagine that this allows you to attach certain qualifiers to your keywords and things that make them a little bit more specific and a little bit more targeted towards certain audiences. Phrase match, of course, carries medium risk, and exact match has the lowest risk associated with it, and it tends to have the lowest cost associated with it as well. If you're sitting here and you find that your account is only using modified broad, or it's only using broad match, or only using phrase match, that's a strategy that will probably need to change a bit. When you go to that keyword list that we were looking at previously, at the top of that list, you may notice some of these terms that are really, really important to the account, but you've probably been running them on broad or maybe modified broad for a while. If that's the case, try these out on phrase match, try them out on exact match. When you do that, you'll be able to see what kind of traffic actually exists on these types of searches. And in particular with exact match, it really does present the lowest risk because you know that you are matching up to that exact search query that the searcher has typed in. So there's kind of no guessing going on with that particular match type. It's a very effective way to understand how traffic will perform on certain terms that you think need to be very prominent in your account and are very relevant to your searchers. So if you don't have a mix of match types within your account, that's typically something you should be looking to do. Remember that with lower risk match types comes lower cost per click. So if you want to start peeling away some of the traffic from your broad match keywords and getting it more towards some of these exact match or phrase match versions, this is actually a cost savings measure because you're able to strip that traffic away from the broad match term that has a little bit of a higher cost per click associated with it, and you can put it right underneath in the phrase match or exact match terms. As a result, you'll be having a lower cost per click overall throughout that particular ad group or even throughout the campaign. So it's always beneficial to test the same keyword on different match types if you're able to do so. Now, when we're talking about keyword hierarchies and how that comes into your account structure, there are 3 levels of keywords that you can think about in your account: primary keywords, secondary keywords, and tertiary keywords. I'm going to use the example here of a custom contractor. Let's say this is a contractor that does kitchen remodeling. A primary keyword is a keyword that you believe is highly targeted, a keyword that you think when somebody lands on it and sees your ad, there is no chance that they're not going to be able to click on it because your ad is so relevant to that search that they absolutely need to inquire on your offer. These are the primary keywords. These are the ones that you should be thinking about featuring most prominently in your account and moving most of your budget towards. A primary keyword in this example for this type of business would be something like custom kitchen remodeling. We're adding that custom qualifier there, so people are looking for this kind of custom option, and kitchen remodeling is really just exactly what we do. So we're adding that qualifier. We're appealing to a little bit more of a specific audience in this instance. My secondary keywords are keywords like kitchen remodeling. So we've kind of taken it one step down. We've broadened our reach a little bit more, and we know that the types of searches we're getting on this term are only using the terms kitchen and remodeling somewhere in the query, but not necessarily custom. So these are the types of searches that we would get to investigate a little bit more, and as a result of seeing the trends on this type of a keyword, we can actually add more primary keywords to our account. Because when we see that coming through our search query report, or the query stream tool that you will find in the WordStream software. You can take these keywords and add them in. As a result, you'll have more long-tail keywords in the account which have a lower cost associated with them. When we're talking about tertiary keywords, we're talking about super high risk. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen accounts come through and come under my nose that are using tons of tertiary keywords. And in this example, this account would be running something like the term kitchen on broad match. This is not an effective keyword strategy for small businesses. This could be an effective strategy for somebody like William & Sonoma or Bed Bath & Beyond. These are the kinds of advertisers that have major budgets, and they can try and link up with people that are just searching for general things related to kitchens. Most, 9 times out of 10, somebody's looking for some sort of product, some sort of feature or whatever, or service related to the kitchen, and Bed Bath & Beyond can be a little bit more effective in that arena. Small to medium-sized businesses and those that typically, we work with here at WordStream aren't going to be benefited from that particular approach. So if you find yourself looking through your account, kind of going into that campaign level keyword list that we were looking at previously, and you see these types of terms in there, you really need to get rid of them. Unless you have the key performance indicators behind them that prove they're generating some ROI in the account, these are the types of terms you really need to look out for and remove due to their high risk and high cost associated with them. So when you're planning your account, in summary, you should start out with a set of secondary and primary keywords. Your primary keywords should be the ones you focus on first, and you should use your secondary keywords as testing grounds to try and find more of those primary keywords in your account. And the overarching picture here is these types of primary keywords are more long tail. As a result, they're less expensive for you. So employing this type of a keyword strategy in the account is a great way to minimize cost. And of course, if we're talking about keywords and pruning through your list, we obviously need to talk about applying negative keywords. So we can go back in here and we can look at kind of our primary, secondary, tertiary keyword list. And let's say you were actually running one of these tertiary terms. What kind of negatives would you think about actually adding to this particular keyword or the ad group that it exists in? Well, we would probably want to block out, cabinets, cooking, products, tips, clean, cheap, terms like that. Because, we're a custom contractor, we do remodeling, it's a fairly expensive and nuanced service, so we just want to eliminate some of the things that we don't actually do as a business and some of the terms that would, indicate to me that the audience isn't a good fit, like cheap, for example. So with negative keywords, my pro tip to you is to always use them, always be looking for more negative keywords you can add to the account, and at the same time, here's the rule of thumb with keyword match types for negatives. Single term negatives should always be on the broad match type. Multi-term negatives should always be on the phrase or exact match type. And certainly let me know if you have questions on why that's the case, but that's the rule of thumb you should be thinking about in any case where you're applying negative keywords. But the summary of the story here is use negative keywords throughout the account, especially if you're using a structure that employs mostly secondary and tertiary keywords. Then you need to think about being very proactive with negative keywords to eliminate some of those unwanted clicks on your ads. All right, let's go into the next topic. So we're going to start this off with the concept that AdWords is volatile. So we all know that bidding goes up and down over the course of the day. There's a lot of competition in the space. New businesses enter. Suddenly your bids go up and things are changing rapidly over the course of a single day even, or over the course of a week or even a month or even a 12-month period of you managing the account. So this section is going to focus on creating uniformity through your account structure because that is a critical aspect of understanding your account performance and your spend. And for those of you that like classic rock, I put my little album here, The Police, Synchronicity. I'm going to use that concept of synchronicity throughout this little presentation here, so I hope you appreciate the reference. If not, I apologize. So moving in, let's look at account structure and naming convention. So before you do anything in AdWords, you need to determine your account structure. How are you going to go about doing this? Well, first you need to decide if you're an e-commerce or an advertiser, or rather an e-commerce advertiser or a lead generation advertiser. Once you do that, once you've decided, hey, I'm selling products online or I'm just looking to generate leads for my services, that's going to dictate a couple of different things about your account. We'll get to that real quick. But first, when you're starting to think about your actual structure, you need to review your website's navigation and menu structure. So you need to understand what kind of assets you have online that you can connect to your AdWords account. If there are certain parts of your website that aren't built out properly or that you feel like don't have enough content just yet, then you really should eliminate that from your AdWords account right off the bat. Don't try and advertise everything all at once. You should probably start incrementally from the bottom all the way up to the top. Now, if you're an e-commerce advertiser, you're typically looking to differentiate your campaigns by product categories. If you're a lead generation advertiser, you're typically looking to differentiate your campaigns by service categories. You may be wondering, though, don't worry about location-based targeting to start. Really determine your keywords, create your campaign categories, and after you build out the initial campaigns, you'll be able to replicate them and set your unique targeting settings across the board. So let's talk about naming conventions as well, and the importance of using naming conventions throughout the account. So as you're building out your campaigns and ad groups, you absolutely need to keep a consistent naming convention throughout the account. When labeling in AdWords goes wrong, a lot of problems can follow. I have a couple examples here of an account where I looked at these campaigns and I was just wondering myself, what exactly is going on here? I opened up a couple of these campaigns as well, as you can see on the right-hand side, and a lot of these ad groups really aren't making much sense to me. You should be able to look at your campaign structure and your ad group structure and know exactly what is going on in your account and exactly what you're advertising on and which keywords are where and which ads are where. If you don't have this type of synchronicity within your account, then you're really not going to be able to understand where your spend is going, because things are going to be all over the place and you're just not going to have any sense of uniformity in actually analyzing your overall account performance. So here's a quick example for you of just how I would reset these naming conventions. So I can actually understand a little bit more about what we're advertising. So we have Apple laptop buybacks. Then we have Canon PowerShot buybacks. Then we have iPhone buybacks, and then Lenovo laptop buybacks, etc. So we're organizing these by different products that we do buybacks for in this particular example. Underneath each of those campaigns, my ad group names directly reference the keywords that I'm bidding on within the ad group. I should not look into any of these. I should not expect to go into any of these ad groups and see any terms that are any different from the style of the ad group name. They can have some variation in terms of using qualifiers and different adjectives or whatever to the actual keyword, but I need to go into my cash for laptop ad group and I need to know that the only terms I have in there are referencing cash for laptop. If you don't have this type of organization, things can get pretty hairy in the account. The reason why I'm bringing this up as a pro tip here for saving money in your account is because if you don't start your account with an ideal structure, you're going to start realizing that it's becoming extremely difficult to understand where your spend is going. If you have multiple keyword concepts or semantically unrelated keywords within the same ad group, you're never going to be able to look at that actual ad group average or any of the performance indicators there and understand whether or not you're making money through that ad group or not. So being able to create a structure that's easy to understand is going to give you extremely tight cost control, and it's really going to give you just a great transparent opportunity to look into the different performance aspects of your accounts. So just keep this in mind. If you want some examples on this, we can certainly send them along. We have a lot of different examples on our blog about ideal account structure and such, but just really keep in mind that without using proper naming conventions and without differentiating your campaigns properly, it's going to get very, very hard to understand where your spend is actually going. All right, and our third tip here is going to start out with the concept that AdWords is all about ROI. If you can't measure the value that AdWords is delivering to your business, honestly, you might as well quit. So let's go into the importance of conversion tracking here. If you do not have the ability to track conversions within your account, you are at a severe disadvantage in AdWords. Your competitors likely have a better way to track conversions. You need to figure out a way to understand exactly how AdWords is delivering value to your business. If you're saying to yourself, I can't implement conversion tracking, Jeff, I don't have an offer, I'm just sending people to my homepage here, you might have a couple of options to use. You can use Google Call Forwarding, which is a free service from Google that does track phone call conversions based on their duration. You can also set up Google Analytics event and goal tracking, and you can sync that back into AdWords. So if you don't want to use the AdWords conversion code, or you don't feel like you have a proper way to set it up, but you already have some event tracking or goal tracking in Google Analytics, then you can implement that into AdWords and track performance that way. If you're really at the short end of the stick, you can kind of use some relative AdWords KPIs to compare against business KPIs. This is really a last resort. This is kind of a guessing game where you're going in there and you're saying, well, I have this many clicks and this many impressions this month, and this is what my business looked like based on revenue, based on leads. Now, based on those figures, I can say that my next month I need to keep those consistent in order to get this number of leads based on my close rate. You can make calculations like that, and it's okay, but if you don't have the ability to really track conversions in AdWords and you're not able to actually see the conversions right there within your AdWords reports, really you're doing yourself a disservice. So one of my tips for you is that it's important to try and implement multiple conversion types and really differentiate them by campaigns. Why do we want to do this? Well, it comes down to cost control and easy analysis. So this kind of ties back into our account structure concept here and why it's important to having good account structure for saving cost. If you have multiple conversion types, let's say it's a product offer or multiple products, maybe you provide products and services. So you do, maybe you're an auto body shop and you also sell some of your, maybe your custom auto body products online, but you're also taking in inquiries for actual detailings, for example. Then you need to set up different campaigns based on those conversion types because the strategies behind them are going to be completely different because you're trying to get people to do two different things. If you don't have that type of setup in your account, once again, cost control is going to be extremely difficult. You'll be able to tell which products and services are selling better than others, and you'll be able to differentiate your budget amongst those and really split things up in a way that makes it a lot easier to analyze your spend and get better ROI through AdWords. Now, a couple of pro tips for you guys related to conversion tracking. Avoid promoting content offers as much as possible. I have a number of accounts that I've worked with in the past where their only offer on AdWords was, for instance, a white paper download. Well, it's a harsh reality in AdWords, but a lot of people are in a very transactional mindset. And in many instances, the last thing that you're looking for after clicking on an ad is to download a white paper and read it. Most of the times, you're actually looking to transact at that moment in time. You're looking to either purchase or register or contact somebody immediately to get the service or the product that you're interested in because you clicked on their ad and you demonstrated a sense of urgency. So really try and avoid some of these types of offers if they're free offers or anything like that. The strongest offers are the ones that add value to the searcher in the form of something like a demo, a consultation, even registering, or just a direct purchase. So that flows into the second tip here, which is implementing a conversion type that can actually be tied to business value. You should not be using any conversions like, view of key pages, for example. I mean, if you're running an advanced account and you're really trying to just understand what type of traffic you can get and how many eyeballs you can get on a certain page, I guess you can implement that strategy. But to be honest with you, I've never believed in that as an effective way to run AdWords. Really, it needs to come down to understanding what types of transactions are happening on your site or over the phone based on your AdWords performance. If you have the option, you should also try and implement revenue tracking through Google Analytics. This is a great way for you to, again, just come back and trace your sales back into AdWords and really understand exactly how AdWords is proving in terms of your ROI. And my final pro tip for you here is to keep a transactional mindset. And this is something that you can apply to any aspect of AdWords, whether it's saving money, trying to increase your click-through rate, trying to increase conversions, anything like that. You really need to think in terms of this transactional environment because, again, these people are coming to your ads and clicking on it and expecting immediate gratification. We obviously live in a generation right now where that's the exact type of expectation that comes up. People search on Google because they want immediate answers. People click on your ads knowing that you're paying money to get there. It's no longer a mystery that you're paying money to get at the top of the page. So when somebody clicks on your ad, you really need to try and give them the best possible chance to convert and work with you. So you need to think about something that makes that transaction as easy as possible, whether that's creating as few barriers to converting on your offer as possible, putting your form higher up on the page, or just readjusting your ad text to communicate pricing or inserting coupon codes or things along those lines. Once you really start thinking in that transactional mindset around AdWords, a lot of things will start flowing from that, and you'll really start understanding where you might be wasting some money by promoting offers that really don't add value to your searchers. So the end summary here is that you need to have some level of conversion tracking going on in AdWords. If you're not able to do any level of this type of tracking within the platform, my recommendation to you today is to stop advertising on AdWords. And I'm very serious about that. You're going to waste money, and you're just not going to know what's happening, and you're going to implement some Google features that you think may help you along the way. But at the end of the day, if you're not able to actually track that transaction or track that type of conversion, you're really not going to get very far. So we're going to segue a little bit here. We're actually going to move over to talking a little bit more about the software product that we offer here at WordStream. So based on the recommendations that I gave you today, certainly keep some questions in hand. We'll have some opportunity to get to them here at the Q&A part. And really just let me know if there's anything you would like me to flesh out a little bit more there. I know the last two were a little bit high level. The first one was a little bit more specific in getting through that keyword list and looking at the different match types. But certainly hold on to those questions to the end, and I'll be able to get to them for you. But let's look into how quality score is calculated. And we're going to tie this back into how the WordStream software can save you money along the way. and it really does flow from this quality score metric. So if we're thinking about quality score, we can think about quality score in 3 parts: ad text relevancy, landing page quality, and click-through rate. You can actually split click-through rate in half. Click-through rate incorporates the actual click-through rate historically that you've seen on your ad, in addition to Google's expected click-through rate over the course of the life of the ad. So Google's making a calculation as to what it thinks your click-through rate is going to look like on that ad every time that it's served, and it's also taking in that previous click-through rate information. In addition to that, your ad text relevancy and how properly you use your keywords within the actual ad text itself, and the landing page relevancy, and whether or not you're actually including those types of terms on your landing page and giving the searcher a transaction environment or some sort of environment where they're seeing good alignment between the ad that they clicked on, the keyword that they searched, and the offer that they're about to consume. So we kind of gave you this idea at the start of the webinar that, within 20 minutes per week, you can make a significant impact on your AdWords performance and put a dent in some of that wasted spend that we've been discussing today. So you may be wondering how that gets done. WordStream has a tool called the 20-minute PPC Workweek. So this helps you simplify PPC tasks. It's going to help you reduce and reallocate wasted spend. It will automate actionable alerts for you. And this is really kind of like having a mini PPC analyst in your pocket that you can have on board each week, giving you recommendations to improve your account. So the idea here is to give you a 20-minute workflow. And what I'd like to do is just kind of jump through each one of the alerts that you have available to you within WordStream, and we'll talk about how each one of those can save you cash and overall just give you a better experience as you're managing your AdWords account. So the first one we have here is just add negative keywords alert. It's very straightforward. This is an activity that you need to be doing constantly to try and eliminate spend in your account and to remove any unwanted traffic. This particular alert is actually going to look through your search query data, and it's going to bring you keyword recommendations to use as negative keywords. So it's going to look at certain searches that came through and triggered your ads, but maybe they got a click, and maybe they just had a huge number of impressions around them, but just really only got like 1 or 2 clicks and wound up wasting a little bit of cash there. Those types of terms are the ones that we're going to look to block out of the account for you. So through this particular alert, you'll be able to open it up, look at the negative keyword recommendations that we're giving you, apply match types or apply them to other areas in the account, and then hit accept, and we'll apply that work directly for you through the through the WordStream interface here. So in terms of saving money in AdWords, this add negative keywords alert is extremely important in that respect. Very, very handy because each week it's giving you a new set of recommendations that you can take immediate action on to eliminate some of that unwanted money in the account. The next one here is optimize keyword bids. This is a great one for also helping you save cash and work within the budget constraints in your account. This is going to give you bid increase recommendations and decrease recommendations based on your current keyword account performance and a couple of key metrics, whether it's the ROI that's being calculated for that term, the actual quality score and its performance as it dictates the actual ad rank on the page, and a number of different factors are going to influence what type of recommendations we give here. But the big thing to keep in mind is that this alert works within those constraints and limits that you've set up with your current campaigns, and it also works within the current budget. So we're never going to give you recommendations here that are going to put you outside of what you're capable of spending, and we're going to give you recommendations that are going to take spend away from certain terms that aren't performing well. Very, very handy for eliminating wasted spend. The add keywords alert is kind of on the other side of the spectrum. This is a way for you to expand your account. So again, we're looking through your search query data here to give you keyword recommendations to add into your campaigns. In this instance, this isn't necessarily a cost savings measure. We'll give you some examples of long tail terms that you can use that would actually have a lower cost per click and would maybe kind of peel away some of the traffic from some of those broader terms that carry higher risk that we were discussing a bit earlier. But all in all, this is going to help you expand your account and just achieve better performance overall by reaching new audiences and gaining additional clicks and conversions. Optimize ads is another great alert here that really tells you, alerts you to ads that are actually underperforming compared to the campaign average. So we're always going to let you know if you have ads that are running that really are just vastly underperforming compared to the rest of the ads underneath that campaign or even that ad group. In terms of cost savings, this can help you by eliminating ads that have lower quality scores associated with them and maybe don't generate good enough ROI. You can replace them with better ads so you can get better click numbers and hopefully higher conversion rates as well, which obviously will help you lower your cost per acquisition and overall lower your cost in AdWords. And then this final alert, review costly keywords, is super handy for eliminating spend in the account. This one looks for keywords that have bad statistics related to cost per acquisition or ROI in the account. So this is specifically looking for the types of keywords that we were discussing a little bit earlier. And it's going to give you the option to actually pause them directly within the alert. Or you can just look at this as kind of a red flag to say, hey, you know, this term is actually very important to me. I need to keep it in the account, but I might need to do some extra work around it. Perhaps I should apply some more restrictive match types to that term, maybe work with some more negatives around that term to help you out with saving costs on those prominent keywords in the account. So at the end of the day, you know, WordStream really relies on this whole relevancy and quality score concept here. So at the end of the day, the key to success is relevancy. But I'm going to reiterate that, you know, using these activities in the 20-minute work week, in addition to the tips that we've talked about today to help eliminate wasted spend and set up your account in a way that's going to help you really track that spend properly, is probably a little bit more important than understanding relevancy right off the bat. It really is key to get that structure in place and get your keyword match types in place prior to thinking about you know, boosting your quality score or boosting click-through rates on things. You need to have that set up in place in advance so that you're not wasting money right from the start. So one little thing that we want to kind of tease here is our landing page creation tool and our lead tracking tool within WordStream. If you're struggling with generating conversions or even being able to track conversions, perhaps you don't have the capabilities to build unique landing pages for each of your campaigns and each of your offers, WordStream software does offer a landing page creation tool and a lead tracking tool that makes it extremely easy and almost seamless to get your conversion code implemented and start tracking conversions right away. So a very, very handy tool for those of you that may not have the capabilities to build these pages on the fly to analyze conversions. This format within WordStream can be a big help for you there. And then, of course, another key to success here is just understanding how you're performing. This is great, kind of related back into what we were discussing earlier, which is just understanding where your spend is coming from. A lot of the topics that we talked about, we're setting things up in a way that you can start understanding what spend is going where and making tweaks based on that performance. In the WordStream tool, we have a PPC reporting tool called the Success Report. This is a great month-over-month overview of your search performance. This is going to give you a really good way to start understanding where your spend is going and what the best areas of your accounts are and where you need to work a little bit further to get your spend down or help your cost per acquisition or just get a better performance overall in certain key areas like click-through rate or conversion rate. All right, and so let's summarize today. So the harsh truth is that most advertisers' accounts, you know, are in a pretty poor state based on our own analysis here in WordStream. Go ahead and, you know, come back to this webinar when we archive it online to review these 3 actionable tips. The last 2 are a little bit high level in terms of structure and conversion tracking, but the first one related to keyword research and pruning through your keyword list is fairly actionable today. So definitely make sure you got through that and start identifying some of those high risk, low return terms within the account. And really don't be afraid to start pausing things and removing them from the account if you don't think there's good success behind them. Understand how you're performing. So if you were interested, you can always run that AdWords performance grader that we spoke about earlier. Give that a try if you'd just like to see how things are stacking up versus other competitors in your industry. Really understand the importance of quality score and think of PPC campaign work as a recurring weekly task that WordStream can certainly help you out with. In addition to that, you know, the 20-minute work week is really going to be your best friend in terms of getting into your account consistently and optimizing. If you're one of those advertisers that at the start raised your hand and said, you know, I don't spend a lot of time in my account, WordStream is a really good solution to kind of supplement that and get you in each week, spending only 20 minutes in the account and just making tweaks that you know are impacting things for the better. All right, and Chris, I don't know if you want to take it over from here, but we're just going to talk through a couple of special offers we want to discuss here at the end of the training, or rather the webinar here. But Chris, just take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff, and thank you, everyone, for your questions. We're going to hop right into Q&A here. I just want to throw a couple special offers that we have up on the screen here. The first one is a free live demo of WordStream's 20-minute PPC Workweek. So that's a demo of the 20-minute PPC Workweek in addition to the landing page and lead creation tool and the PPC reporting. So you get to check out all 3 in a bundle. The second one there is a free 101 AdWords Grader walkthrough with a PPC expert. And what that is so your AdWords Performance Grader report, you can walk through with one of our expert PPC managers here. They'll go through your account and they'll kind of let you know how you're doing in different areas and see where and let you know where you need to make improvements. And the third choice there is nothing at the moment. So if you guys, we're going to leave this up on the screen here. We're just going to jump right into Q&A, but feel free to choose one of those there. So the first question here, Jeff, is are long tail keywords more effective than just standard keywords?
The general answer is going to be yes. The long answer is what you mean by effective. Long tail keywords tend to have a lower cost associated with them, and long tail keywords also, in theory, are more targeted to your audience because you're using certain terms that cater more to their needs or the things that they're interested in that more closely relate to your products. So I would say that trying to use a lot of long tail keywords in your account is a great strategy, and you can look at some of those as like your primary keywords, but long tail I would look at as like 3 terms or more. And really, you should always be looking for those opportunities in the account, and I would start, really looking towards some of those broader terms in your account that may have higher spend associated with them, lower click-through rates, and perhaps a high cost per acquisition, and consider maybe adding some qualifiers to those terms as long tail.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. The next question we have here is you spoke a lot about conversion tracking. So if someone doesn't have conversion tracking turned on, can you just explain a little bit what the benefit is if they did have it and why they should have it?
Sure. So with conversion tracking, this is actually telling you how many people converted on your offer that you're promoting through AdWords. So somebody's going to click on your ad, they'll get to your landing page, and perhaps they fill out your form for a free consultation. The conversion tracking code is going to be placed on that thank you page or confirmation page that occurs after that conversion takes place on your website, and it's going to report back to AdWords that somebody actually completed your offer after clicking on your ad. So as a result, you're going to be able to go into AdWords and you're going to see how many conversions are resulting directly from clicks on your ad. There's a number of other conversion formats, like view-through conversions, for example. A view-through conversion is when somebody sees your ad and in the same session, maybe they didn't click on the ad, but they later went to your site directly and converted on the offer. Google's going to look at that as a conversion because they actually saw your ad there on their search result pages and then converted, and Google can tie some of that back to the actual conversion. So it's extremely handy for just understanding exactly how people are interacting with your offer, and at the end of the day, you're going to be able to see that column that's cost per acquisition. That cost per acquisition column is going to tell you literally how much money you spent to generate that lead or to generate that purchase. If you don't have that data, that cost per acquisition number, it's really difficult for you to understand whether or not you're actually making money and getting ROI through AdWords. Because if you're a general retailer and you're selling, let's say, maybe you're just selling different types of like arrowheads, for example. I actually have a client that does this. They sell types of arrows, lots of different archery products. These arrowheads are usually retailing for like $50 for a pack of 6. Their cost per acquisition is at about $2. That's a huge indicator for them that they are making good money on their AdWords account. But let's say their cost per acquisition was like $35 on those types of products. If we were to see that number, we would know that, maybe based on their margins and based on their shipping costs and a number of other things, that's not a good number for them, and they're actually losing money on every transaction that comes through on AdWords. So without that type of conversion tracking, it's going to be pretty difficult to understand your ROI in AdWords.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So you mentioned not using content strategy for those advertisers out there that are using AdWords for lead gen. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So it kind of comes back into this idea that the AdWords kind of environment is very transactional. If you honestly believe that your content offer is the best thing that you could give somebody after they click on your ad, remember, they've gone through quite a bit to actually click to that ad. They've looked through the organic results, they've searched on this term, and now they're actually turning towards the paid search side of things. Because again, everybody knows that you're paying for that spot, so they're kind of looking at everybody on that paid side of things at kind of the lowest of the barrel. So if you're just giving them a content offer that doesn't necessarily provide any value to your business, like maybe you have a content offer that you close off of like 25% of the time, I'll tell you that's extremely rare. If you have an offer that's available that actually ties back to some sort of business value in terms of an actual lead that you can convert or a product that you can demonstrate or a consultation that you can conduct, those are the types of conversions that you really should be focusing on. If the content offer is the only thing you have going for you, I would consider just using different channels rather than AdWords, because if you're paying to get people to your content offer, something's telling me that your content's probably not exactly the best in the world. Really, in my own experience from working on the inbound side of things and doing extensive work in the HubSpot interface, actually, if anybody does use HubSpot, it's a heavy content marketing interface. Most times, if you have a white paper offer that resonates with your audience, you don't need to run a paid search campaign around it. You just simply need to promote it organically or through social channels. So that's really the idea in mind here. It's a transactional environment. People are looking to actually convert and get value immediately. Most people aren't expecting to click on an ad and download a white paper and start reading. It's just not the kind of mindset that is approaching AdWords ads.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So this whole webinar was about saving money and eliminating that wasted spend. So how much time should someone give a keyword to perform before they rate it as poor and remove it from their account?
No more than 30 days. If you see some very specific indicators within the first 2-week period, as you know, if you just suddenly get to 10K impressions and you've gotten 1 click in 2 weeks, that should tell you that something's wrong pretty early on. But I typically give that 30-day window as my testing window for working with new keywords and analyzing whether or not I'm actually wasting money on a term.
Great. And what's the easiest way to evaluate if that keyword's doing poorly or is doing great? Like what are the metrics that you would look at that would evaluate that performance?
It would be all about conversions. So it would be understanding how many conversions that keyword generated and at what cost. If you're not able to measure conversions, then you're looking at a click-through rate and also perhaps your average position. So if your average position is in a top state, if it's 1, 2, or 3, you're usually in a good spot. And if you have a click-through rate of 5% or higher, that's a good indicator that you've hit on some relevancy. One of the things that you can look at, maybe if you're not able to track conversions specifically, is perhaps going in and looking at your bounce rate on that landing page that you've connected to your ad in that instance. So if you see this keyword that has decent click-through rate, good number of impressions, good average position, but you're not able to tie anything back in terms of conversions, then maybe look at that bounce rate on that particular page and see if there are a lot of people walking away after they actually click through the ad.
Great. And I know we've been focusing a lot of our conversations on AdWords here, but one of the questions we have is, does WordStream's tool work for Yahoo and Bing ads as well?
Yes. So WordStream is great because it does allow you to sync your work between AdWords and Bing. I'm sure most of you know out there that the general strategy is that you want to create an AdWords structure that you're comfortable with and then translate that over to Bing and kind of take a hands-off approach, so to speak. WordStream is perfect for that because throughout the 20-minute work week, we'll be giving you those recommendations tied into AdWords, but you can also apply them to Bing. There's always going to be an option there that allows you to also add those recommendations to Bing as well. And in addition to that, within the WordStream interface, you can create new elements in the account, whether it be campaigns, text ads, etc. And we always give you the option to add those elements to the account for both AdWords and Bing, or just one of the two. So there's a lot of good synchronicity going on between those two formats.
Great. So Jeff, what would your recommendation be for someone that's dealing with very expensive keywords? So they're in a very competitive space. Their industry has, the keywords are costing, it could be up in $10 to $15 per click. What are your recommendations for those types of advertisers?
So that's a great question, and that's one of the biggest challenges with AdWords is being in a highly competitive space and worrying about the price of your keywords and not knowing whether or not you have the best offer in the space. The challenge there is that if you're not able to generate conversions through those terms and you're paying a good amount of money for them, you need to consider turning them off. However, in a lot of industries where this type of cost is extremely high for certain keywords, the sales lead time is usually a little bit longer as well. So perhaps you're talking about, a law firm or high technology like server administration or IT services or something like that. Those are the type of industries that typically have a longer sales cycle associated with them. So you might want to give things a little bit longer to test. That would be my recommendation there, because really you could get one conversion on your term, and that could translate into, a 50K deal or a 50K case or something along those lines that proves your AdWords ROI within one transaction. So those types of industries, you want to look at things with a longer view in mind. It's a little bit cumbersome to test something over like a 6-month period, for example, to determine whether or not you're going to be able to generate a conversion for your law firm, for example. But the big thing there, too, is to know that your conversion type is something that is truly tying back to some sort of value within your organization. So if you are a law firm, your conversion type should be as close as somebody can get to actually engaging your legal services. So really give that longer testing period and understand that a certain conversion in most of these cases where keywords are extremely expensive usually mean a pretty big return on your AdWords spend.
Great. So we're kind of running out of time here, and thank you everyone for sending your questions, and we're getting tons and tons of questions, and these are really awesome questions. So thank you for sending those in. We're running a little short on time, so I'm going to finish up with a question here. So Jeff, does WordStream offer any type of service to help me set up Google remarketing? So if someone's looking to expand into the display network, does WordStream offer any type of service to help set that up?
WordStream's software itself will not let you manage remarketing campaigns within the software or set them up within the software. You'll be able to review the performance there within WordStream. However, whenever you do purchase the WordStream software, you do get assigned to a dedicated customer success rep that you'll know by their first name pretty much on that basis, and you'll be able to work with them consistently to help implement certain things like remarketing. One of the services that WordStream does offer on top of giving you a dedicated rep on your WordStream account is also something called Premier Consulting, where you can pay by the hour to actually have us work with you in your accounts, guide you through the remarketing setup, for example, and determine whether there are some optimization steps you should take or things along those lines. So there's a lot of ways that we can help you with remarketing in terms of just consultative services, but within the WordStream software itself, there's no marketing support for it right now. It is one of those things that's on the horizon. We're thinking about it in the next few quarters. Right now, our focus is on incorporating shopping campaigns within WordStream, so that's a feature you'll see here shortly, probably within the quarter. But just keep in mind, we're thinking about getting remarketing in there, but for right now, it'll be read-only, and you do have support in terms of your customer success rep and also our Premier Consulting service that can guide you through those steps.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you everyone for attending today. We really appreciate it. Again, if you want to run your free AdWords Performance Grader, you can do that at wordstream.com/Google-AdWords. And if you have any questions for us, you can call 855-967-3787. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to having you on our next webinar.